Live. Welcome to episode 202 of the Blue Recluse. My name is Martin Larsen, and you're listening to the podcast about everything Blizzard. It's Sunday, not Saturday, as the show notes say. It's Sunday, August 26, 2018, and with me today I have Tom.
Hey everyone, good to be here. Nothing strange is happening. Nothing out of the ordinary is happening on the show. It's just a normal show with no talk about
Whispers.
old gods or whispers, nothing like that. It's totally normal show.
Why would we?
I don't. I'm not sure.
I don't know either. Michael, would you know? Why would we talk about whispers?
I don't know. I mean, my audio stuff was all kinds of crazy this morning, so maybe somebody whispered something in my ear and messed everything up. Or it could have been a gnome. It could have been a gnome. They're sneaky.
Always blame the gnomes.
They're
Always
sneaky.
blame
Yeah.
the gnomes. Yeah,
Could be a gnome.
the gnomes, right?
Oh, speaking of whispers, we actually have Sil as a guest from Whispers of War, the podcast with Sil.
Hello. It's
Welcome
nice
to
to
the
be
show.
back.
Yeah, it's been a while.
I know, except now I had to do my makeup because I'm actually on a strike.
Yeah, we go through the same dilemma every week, so you know, it's,
I know.
It's just one of those things, but we're stoked to have you back. It's been a while. We know you've recently got back into podcasting, so it's good for you to join us in the Blue Recluse again.
It's
And,
great to be back.
Yeah.
Great. Well, then let's not wait any longer. Let's jump straight into it then.
Here I come. I sense something elusive. Stay a while and listen. Well met. You are not prepared. This better be good. Existence is mysterious.
Loud and clear. Hello there.
Greetings, traveler, and welcome to the Blue Recluse.
Yeah, and we are off, and I'm already getting complimented for my new haircut. So thank you for that. For all your listeners, while you're missing out, you should have been watching the live stream. That's just how it is.
Wow. I mean, if that's how you're trying to sell people coming to watch us on Twitch, I feel like we need to reevaluate our strategy.
Oh man. All right.
I feel like you've got it. You know, you have cut it a bit short.
It's a bit shorter.
bit
That's
short.
usually what happens when you get a haircut.
Yeah,
Your hair gets shorter.
Short. Yeah, short. Short, Marty. Short.
Keep okay.
Transition.
Yeah, he
quickly.
didn't get it. You know what I mean? You really try to. You really try these segues, and when someone just doesn't get it, it makes you look really silly. Really silly.
Are you talking about a digital animated short?
I am Marty. Yes, I do believe that's where I was going with that.
All right. Just quickly, Michael, I just want to check that we're actually live, or is it just my phone that died?
It may actually be Twitch acting up again.
It's definitely
Okay.
live. I can see it. I'm watching it right now.
You can
You're
see
watching
it.
it. All right, good.
Oh,
Good.
It's live. Whoa, everything's going weird. Michael's moving windows. It's all good.
I had to open it
Don't
up,
worry.
double check. Because
Should have trusted me.
See,
Don't-
people,
sorry.
for you audio listeners, this is why you should come and watch the live stream, because this is what happens every week.
technical
Some-
difficulties nonstop.
Every week, something goes wrong.
Yeah.
Main selling point.
All right. Well, let's try out those Michael's streaming skills. Let's talk about the new animated short with d.va that got released at Gamescom this week. Have you, Tom? You watched it?
I did. I tuned into wrong scene, Michael. We tuned into the d.va short, and we head over to South Korea, and we get to see d.va in action, and she's kind of working on her mech. She's back from a recent battle, and she's hard work in the garage. A bit of a grease monkey. Turns out that she seems to be, and she's getting ready for the next battle, which just so happens not to be very far away.
Then stuff happened.
Things went down. Things went down. So I just watched it this morning before the podcast, and it was actually really good. Now, I hadn't watched it before I heard other people's opinions, and I know there were people like Scott Johnson that were not a big fan of it. They thought
really?
his opinion was that while it's well done from like the technical and artistic standpoint, he just wasn't that into it in terms of like character development, and he didn't like that they were just kind of showing off her regular moves in game. But I actually really enjoyed it. I thought it was cool. The worst part about it was that the poor guy got friend zoned at the end.
Yeah.
So for those of you who haven't seen it, she has one of her friends there who's kind of like her backup. He's mission control per se. While she's out fighting, he's behind the scenes doing the technical stuff, and she takes everything on her shoulders, and she's like, I love having you here. You're like the best friend I could ever ask for. And I was like, oh man, we've all been there.
Gotta say that one cut deeper than some of the previous. Like, I mean, I know we had like that emotional connection in the brothers one, you know, with Hanzo and Genji. We had some really, you know, gut-wrenching moments in the Bastion with
PTSD in robots.
You know, we almost saw the death of Mei freezing to death, but you know what? This cut deep. This cut the deepest. The Brandon thing. Wow. I mean, we've all been there, right, guys? You know, we've all been there, and that hurts.
I don't know. I think what she said sounds familiar. I might have said that in the past.
Oh. I used to have a tent that I set up in the friend zone. I used to visit it quite frequently.
Interesting choice of words.
All right. So, what were your reactions to it? Sil, did you enjoy it? Did you like it?
I liked it more than I thought I was going to, because d.va has been so, you know, you always see the whole waifu things around her, and that she is so stereotypical Korean and cute and everything, and just seeing that now they've made it into a almost like her persona in the media there. And she's completely different when she's just in her garage, just working on her mech. That's what I like, that you actually see the person who she actually is. And that made me like her a lot more.
But isn't it also like when I'm not too big of I don't know too much about this, but if you look at K-pop and stuff like that, or everything, a lot of things that comes from that side of the globe, it seems like when you see it, it's all, you know, set up, and you know, like, most likely that's not how the people are in real life.
Yeah, absolutely. So I still think this gives you a little bit of an extra insight into the character and just what she does, and that she's not into the whole glamour and everything, and she just sits at home, I guess her garage, and just works on her mech and just has those Doritos still, and and she's just very much herself, and I think I like that more than what we see sometimes in the game. Like in the game with her, the stereotypical things that she says, it doesn't sound much like a real person, if that makes sense. It's weird saying that for a video game character, but I got more sense of a real d.va in this video than I get in the game.
Yeah, I have to totally agree. And also, I think my opinion is that, unlike the Jaina cinematic, I really enjoyed this one. It was
Let's
really
not go there. Why do you gotta keep going there?
There it is.
Jeez, this guy.
Well, I mean,
who invited
Blizzard
him
seem
on?
to be Blizzard seem to be really into their tentacles though right now. I mean, they're like, okay, obviously there's no tentacles in World of Warcraft right now, but they're like, we're gonna put some in Overwatch just because there's none in our other games right now, and I just thought that was interesting.
Yep. You're right. That robot sure had some tentacles. Yeah.
And I really want to kind of nerf this. I feel like that would be a great energy drink to kind of perk you up after a long day. Just keep you going if you wanted to play a few more games of Overwatch into the wee hours. So I'm looking forward for that hitting the stores.
The thing is, though, if they did make a drink and called it Nerf this, everybody who played Overwatch would buy it.
They probably would. Even if it tasted terrible. And all you would have to do is with every can purchase, you get a loot box or something like that.
I bet you there will be something like that
Marketing.
on BlizzCon, that they will have a drink called Nerf This.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, most likely.
probably.
Yeah. But it's not just a new fantasy cinematic we got. We also got a little sneak peek at the new Korean Busan.
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 So this I mean,
map.
the connection here is the short takes place in Busan. So there's
Yeah. And actually, I don't know if you guys watched it, but they released a little bit of a behind the scenes video as well, where they showed off that they actually went there and recorded how it's the sounds for it, and
Oh, really?
got some inspiration and things like that to make sure that it actually that they actually gave Korea justice when
It's like
they made this
authentic,
map.
like street sounds and stuff like that, or
Yep.
wow.
So
So I watched the kind of sneak peek of this new map, and I really like that they're really honing in on the kind of classic culture of like internet cafes, arcade games, and karaoke. Karaoke is a big thing, kind of in like Korea and China. So it's kind of cool that they're like adding that flavor, and if they actually like went to the city to do some research as well, which I guess they kind of can do with this game because it's set on Earth, and you know it takes place across many different cities. And the fact that I wonder if they've like done that with other kind of maps as well that they've brought into the game, just to kind of look into that a bit more, and actually going there to capture that, I think is, you know, it's quite interesting, but just shows how serious kind of that is, building up something that really resonates with like the people of those countries, and also people who've maybe never been there, to get that taste of what it's actually like.
Am I the only one that wants to play whatever that fighting game is that's in
Yes.
there? So like,
I
there's
want
like
that.
there's like a scene, and part of it is like there's two characters looking like they're a fighting game, and one looks kind of like an angel from Diablo-ish,
It's
and then the
Tychus
other,
and
then Tychus and Tyrael.
Tyrael, yeah, it says their names on the screen.
Oh, I
It's
didn't
like
I didn't read the Tyrael, but I was
it's
like,
a beat 'em up game, like a I don't know, 16-bit beat 'em up game. And is this a sneak? You know, little
the
Easter egg of
reveal.
what?
The reveal.
This is the big Diablo announcement. This is, when they said they were working on things,
We asked and they delivered.
We're gonna get a 16-bit Blizzard are gonna bring back the fighting genre. That's what they're gonna do.
Coming to a Super Nintendo near you.
Hey, we know Blizzard have teamed up with Nintendo, Michael. So,
Yeah.
this, you know, Mike Morheim and your guy from Nintendo, I can't remember his name.
Reggie.
Reggie.
Yeah.
You know, they were like, you know what else would be cool? Let's bring some games out for that Super Nintendo. It's been a while.
I would buy it.
You know, get a free creative Nerf This. I'm very close to calling it something else, because we have a new podcast called Nerd This, and Nerf This was kind of an inspiration behind that. So I'm making sure I pronounce it right. But
So
yeah.
sorry. So we are the ones who are making an energy drink.
Well, I mean, we can make an energy drink as well, but that's probably something we should talk about on another podcast.
Oh,
Indeed.
Sorry.
So
Were you
we
about
know
to say
this one?
something? I think I interrupted you, didn't I?
You interrupted me?
No.
I mean, that's nothing new. Michael, you fan of the Busan?
I've actually been there in person. I've gotten to
Oh
go
wow! So what do you think? Is this like behind the scenes? Do you feel like you're back there?
there. There's a lot less blue lighting when I was there. It didn't look as futuristic or as clean. But obviously I was only in Busan for a couple days, so I didn't like memorize it in hopes that one day I would be on a podcast talking about it. But I think it's cool.
I mean, that is a shame that you didn't. But you know,
I'm sorry, I didn't properly prepare for the
We're supposed to have
future.
boots on the ground. Boots on the ground.
If only I would have known that 4.5 years later I would be on a podcast talking about a game that wasn't released yet.
Anytime you guys go on vacation now, just take notes, because you never know. That could be the next map in Overwatch, and we want to know if it's actually authentic.
Okay, I'll carry around a notepad with me for now on.
Good. Speaking of notepads and taking notes and testing theories, and stuff like that. Puzzle Lab is launched in Hearthstone.
Did you call it
Tom,
Puzzle App or Puzzle Labs?
Puzzle Labs.
Okay, I was like,
Puzzle
Puzzle
Labs.
App? What?
Yeah, I
Oh,
thought he said app as well.
I don't know if I did, but Puzzle Labs launched in Hearthstone, Tom.
did.
I think you're excited because you have already completed it, right?
Oh, I haven't completed it, Marty. No, I mean, don't make such accusations like that. But I have played quite a bit of it, and it's really, really good fun. It's separated into several categories like lethal puzzles, board clear puzzles, mirror puzzles, which is quite interesting because you have to match your enemy's board with the minions and their health that they have as well and attack. So it's very interesting. And then there's another category called survival where you have to heal your hero up to full health with the just in one turn and with the cards and minions that you're provided with. And I've played through all the lethal puzzles, and I have to say it ramps up really well in difficulty. I think because I do have quite a good understanding of the game, I was able to fly through quite a few of them. But the later puzzles, especially kind of the last 5, man, I was stuck on one for about 40 minutes. I was just sitting there trying different things. And because we talked about a few weeks ago how they kind of reworked the engine for this, that you can easily restart puzzles. You don't have to go through loading screens to start again. You can just experiment. It is the Puzzle Labs after all. And it's I think that was an important part of it, the fact that they made it so easy for you to retry puzzles that it just feels fun, and you can experiment with it, and you can sit there for hours with your heads in your hand going, I've done every combination. Surely I've done every combination. But I think it's a great little tool for newer players as well, just to jump in there and see how certain things work, and also how you can think outside the box with certain plays as well, because it's not always just a straightforward of playing all the cards that have the mana cost, using up all your mana. There's sometimes just better ways to do things just to get that 1 point or 2 points more worth of damage, which can be the difference between success and failure. And I think the way this has been implemented in the game, this could be like, they could just bring out this like every 6 months as a almost a standalone thing, because it's just so incredible. And it feels like there's just it's limitless what they can do with it, because they can kind of add some wacky things that don't see play in kind of normal games as well. And I think it's really good, and I would highly recommend anyone to check it out if you have any interest in Hearthstone, because I mean, puzzles and Hearthstone, it's a good combination.
Cool. Any of your other guys who have checked it out, or have you been busy doing other stuff?
It's one of the games that I always think, I want to go back into Hearthstone, and then I'm just crap with card games at all. So.
Yeah, I have to admit, I haven't really had the time, I feel like, to jump into Hearthstone this expansion around because of World of Warcraft. That's where I've been spending my time. That's my main game. So
you actually have an excuse this time, because I mean, the fact that a Hearthstone expansion and a World of Warcraft expansion released within a week of each other, I'm gonna give you that. But normally when he's given this excuse of I don't have time to play Hearthstone, last time he was saying that we'd been in Legion for almost 2 years. I was like, always saying that. But this time, you have a legitimate excuse. But I know there is someone else on this podcast that has done the good thing, done some research, actually came here with some solid opinions.
Okay, let's
it's
move
not just
on.
me.
No, wow. That's right. I actually got to go in mainly because I've been really tired getting home from work. I restarted my job up again, so I've been tired, and like Marty said, World of Warcraft is here, but
Ooh.
I don't have the time sometimes to jump in there and do what I want to do. So throw on some Hearthstone. I was playing some casually, still using my whiz bang deck. I'm loving it. But I did get into the Puzzle Labs this morning, actually, and it's a lot of fun. I love this type of thing. You don't need anything other than the game. You just log in and you play it. They give you everything that you need, and I love trying to figure things out. How can this actually work? I'm about 6 out of 9 right now on the lethal, so I plan on doing more of that today.
Michael
Very
approved.
well.
That's Michael approved.
All right.
I mean, that's a big,
All right, that's
that's a
cool.
big thumbs up. Right
Only
there.
the best. Only
cool.
the best.
All right. Well, let's move on to the Nexus then.
Okay.
A new hero.
Yes.
A new hero has been included, and that's also Michael approved, right?
Well, I wouldn't go that far, but Mephisto, one of the prime evils from Diablo, is actually...
I thought you said Bethesda for a second. I was like, wait,
Bethesda,
what?
the prime evil. They make you pay for games that aren't complete. Anyway, that's a topic
Whoa.
for a different day. Girlfriend's gonna yell at me later.
We've
But
got a few Bethesda fans in the chat, so that's gonna rile them up.
yeah, well, maybe they should have put their
Are you
face
one of
somewhere
them?
else.
I'm one of them.
Yeah. But anyway, Mephisto from Diablo fame is actually coming to the Nexus, and his kit seems fine. He's a ranged assassin, so that's pretty cool. But of course, it would not be a Blizzard game if there wasn't some controversy that came with it. People are not happy with
Ooh.
his design. They don't like the way that he's kind of been comicalized, I guess you could say, if that's even a word. I don't know. I'm just making things up as we go. But they don't like his
I
design.
know
They
what you
think it
mean.
looks a bit too cartoony, a bit phoned in versus his Diablo 2 iteration.
Which
So-
was really pixelated.
yeah, they want that, you know. So people are upset about that. They
So it's more about the aesthetics, the looks.
yeah, I
And
mean,
not
I
so
even
much
saw
the
a YouTube comment that said that I'm gonna quit this game now because that's not my Mephisto. And I was like,
No.
if this is the straw that breaks the camel's back for you, then you probably never should have been playing the game to begin with. If like something aesthetic,
That was
and-
my comment, Michael.
yeah, I know it was your second account. But yeah, so he's coming to the Nexus. So
Can I just kick the hornet's nest when it comes to that? Didn't we see when they announced Heroes of the Storm at BlizzCon so many years ago, Diablo riding a rainbow unicorn?
Yeah.
And
did.
people are complaining about his looks. What?
hey, that Diablo riding a unicorn could actually happen. Okay, he got lost in Whimsyshire. And
Yeah, I know that's canon, isn't it?
yeah. I don't know. People get riled up over certain things, and I don't care. To me, it's how does he play in game? How does he feel when I'm actually playing with it? And once it's live, then I'm gonna go ahead and give a more detailed opinion on it. So until then, that's all we got for now. He's coming.
All right.
So they
cool.
haven't shown any skins yet for him or any.
They might have shown a few, but nothing that would actually tell people like, okay, here's your Diablo 2 version. Kind of like how Diablo in game has the Diablo 2 hulking version, and then also the primeval version from Diablo 3 as an alternate skin. So
I hope they release a clown skin or something for him. Just fully embrace this whole. Oh, you think he's comical? Oh, well, wait till you see his
Watch
skins.
this.
oh my. Let's move on. I don't want to be a part of that.
All right. Well, then let's move on to, I think, the one topic that everybody here wants to talk a little bit about. Just a little bit, I think. And that's World of Warcraft,
Woo!
Battle of Azeroth.
Woo!
We had a small Q&A where they revealed that the story for Battle of Azeroth, it's a long story, apparently. So, I mean, I'm a big advocate for story in World of Warcraft. I love story. How about yourself? Story in World of Warcraft?
Well, as you can see, all the books behind me, I love stories. So yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it, and I'm really pulled into the story right now, even just from the small beginnings. I'm really digging what they're doing.
And
Yeah,
I know
so-
that Marty's into it because I was listening to a podcast not too long ago where he said he started World of Warcraft so he could finish up the story. And that was about 12, 13 years ago, and he's still not done with it yet. So
No, still working on that
That's
part.
an expensive book.
Yeah, but that's the amazing thing about World of Warcraft is that technically, as long as there's people who want to, who's interested, they can continue the story, and it's something you can't really see with TV series, for instance. They do tend to usually stop around before 10 seasons, and then that's it. But World of Warcraft just keeps going strong.
Absolutely. I think they have hit and misses with where their story goes. At times, I mean, Warlords of Draenor, I'm not a big fan of time walking and things like that. So, yeah, that wasn't the greatest, I think, personally, from a storytelling point of view. But I think after that, when we got Legion, and now especially with BFA, I think we are getting some really good storytelling.
I mean, you can say what you will about Warlords of Draenor. I mean, we are probably the first ones to say that. Well, we're ridiculed that expansion a little tiny bit on our podcast over the years. But what they actually did manage to do was set up the next 2 expansions so far. They started with setting up Gul'dan in Warlords of Draenor that led into Legion, that now has led into Battles for Azeroth. So something good did actually come out of it, I guess, if you have to look at it that way.
Sure, but it's the same like what I always say about Cataclysm. People like to bash that expansion, but without Cataclysm, we wouldn't really have like Worgen or Goblins or anything like that.
I always like to reference Chris Metzen at this point. In 2014, when he was on stage before he revealed Overwatch, I think he said something along the lines of, he's like, we've all enjoyed World of Warcraft for all these years. There may have been some convoluted plot points here and there. And he kind of like went like a little bit cringe a little bit, like knowing that he may have made some missteps here and there. And I think that's all part of storytelling. It's not always going to be the perfect story, especially in an interactive medium such as like video game. It's a little bit different than writing a book. You can't just edit it and it stays that way. It's constantly changing. And I think that's a really cool thing that this game is able to keep so many people engaged for so long. I never read a book for 13 years. I mean, I haven't played this game for 13 years either, but you have. So, I mean, how many books have you read constantly for that amount of time?
Not the same book. Let's just put it that way.
Oh, I'm talking about the same book.
Yeah, I've read multiple other books, but not the same book.
Can I bring something up from the Q&A?
Yes.
Because we have a listener to the show and a friend of ours in World of Warcraft, Marty Giggles, and she actually like kind of put a question out there like a week ago or so about how she kind of mains a panda, and how that with this expansion she's feeling a bit of a disconnect because of like, you know, again the story is focused on war, and as we know, like when the Horde and Alliance discovered Pandera, and you know they're fighting on it, and the pandas are kind of like, yeah, we have to join a side here, but you know what, is fighting really the thing? You know, the fighting is bad, guys. You know, stop fighting. So she's kind of in the situation, you know, as a panda right now, which is like, I don't really feel like I belong in this story again, because of what's going on. And I think, you know, this was brought up in the Q&A, and they've said like the implications of this story, you know, it's gonna reach into every faction and you know, every race. You know, it's going to have some meaning, but it's obviously going to take some time to tell that and to uncover all the pieces. But I just thought it was an interesting question, just because from the stance of the Pandaren, and how that, you know, they're probably kind of sitting back again going, you know, we did this on our homeland, and you know, you guys went on it, and look, you know, there was Shah running around everywhere, and you know, if it wasn't good for us then, is it going to be good for us now? And I just wanted to hint on that.
No, Tom.
Yeah.
This is the reason why pandas never should have been in World of Warcraft.
They're too nice. They're too cuddly.
nice. They can't be a part of the game.
Well, it's going to be weird anyway, I think, for any Horde panda, because you get the Zandalari trolls who enslaved you before that, and now you're all like bezies. I don't know.
I think
Water
that is
under
one
the
of the
bridge.
I think that is one of the issues with the Horde, right? That I mean, technically, why are the Blood Elves even over there? Because they do come from the Elven line of you know, ancestors. So technically, they should be alliance as well, right? I mean,
Not
there's a lot of
Kael'thas
these-
took them over there.
Yeah, but they think they're superior. They think they're superior to the Night Elves. You know, they look down on them. They spit on them, Marty. They're like, yeah, we're better than you.
Yeah, but still, why are the Tauren over there?
We still
what are
have
the Taurens
archery.
doing there? I mean, the Taurens has always struck me as like, that's so weird that they are actually on the Horde side, because they fought alongside the Elves back in the sun during the Sundering and thing. But back in those days, I mean, it's just, I think it's just how the Horde is the races that actually are in the Horde. They are a little bit like a bunch of rag pack of different races.
Rejects.
It reminds me of like what you see in those teen movies, like the high school cafeteria in like an American movie, And you have all these different groups, and that's basically the Horde. You have your
Breakfast
blood
Club. You're
elves and-
saying the Horde is the Breakfast Club, right?
Yes, exactly.
And that worked out okay. They came together and then they realized that actually they all had something in common and that it was okay. So maybe the Horde just need to go to detention, sit there for a couple of hours and just talk it over and be like, oh, you know what? I can really relate to Sylvanas dying and coming back as a banshee, and I can really relate to her burning down trees. And you know what? It's okay. We
I can
are the
relate to
Horde.
committing genocide.
Well, in game it shows that like they weren't exactly buddy with the idea. Like the Tauren are struggling with it. You see the leaders of the factions talking about it. So once again, we come to the point of the story's not finished yet.
You only see that if you're playing Horde. As an Alliance player, you don't see that. But as a Horde player, you do see that Bane is not happy with what is transpired, and we all know that Southfang is not happy about it either. Where he's sitting in Stormwind right now and
Stockades getting
drinking
his
tea with
2 meals a day.
But I'm looking forward to see what you're talking about, like the complications that it will have for the other factions and races, because I think one of the big words that's been used about this expansion that we haven't really seen yet is morally gray. It got thrown around a lot before Sylvanas burnt the tree, and I mean since we went into the expansion, I do feel like it's been a lot black and white. There hasn't really been too much morally gray, in my opinion, yet. So I definitely hope that we'll start seeing some of that soon, because
I think
right now it really
from
feels
a
like the Alliance.
military perspective though, because I just finished a Good War, which was one of the novellas in the collector's edition, and again, while I am like not saying what Sylvanas did, I'm like, it's never going to be right. But in her mind, from a military perspective, like it really goes in well to explaining her actions and the conflict kind of Surfang had with even the kind of duel with Malfurion and the burning of the tree as well. So it's I still feel like when people are still saying, oh, it was poor writing, and I'm just of the opinion that if you're invested enough in the story that you can seek out just a few more things to kind of flesh that out some more, and if you're not, you've seen little hints of aspects of the story in game with the cinematics. It shows you a bit of Salfrang's resentment, and it shows you that Sylvanas is maybe making some decisions, but if you want to kind of go more into that, you can, and just we have the option to do that now, and you kind of have a scalable effect of how deep you want to go. Do you want to read all the books? Do you want to read all the material that's out there? You can really get this bigger picture in your head, or if you just want to see what happens in game, you can get a very vague outline of what's happening. But we're just in that situation now that we have the ability to do that, and I think that's better than what it has been in the past.
Yeah, I totally have to agree with you that it's definitely not poor writing. I think it's probably more like the some of the pre-quest before the expansion was probably not that well done though, but the overall story, that's definitely not poor writing in my opinion. So far, at least, I can't really say what's going to happen next, and I can't really answer for that yet until we actually see.
And Sylvanas is getting compared to Cersei Lannister in the chat, which I feel it's a pretty fair.
Yeah, I think that's
pretty
really
fair
good.
statement.
Yeah. Have to agree, because she's basically fighting for what she believes in, right?
And she'll do it at all costs, even if she has to make those decisions, which one of us wouldn't make it. We'd be like, nope, that's just too far, Sylvanas. That's too far. But Sylvanas is like, nope, this is how she's got the route plotted out in her head to achieving whatever she wants to achieve. She's got it plotted out in her head and knows what potential action to take.
And what is that? What's the next step?
Well, what is the next step? I mean, is there something underlying in this entire story that
I think
Maybe.
they're setting her up for something big. I mean, the fact that in the comics, when she's talking with her two sisters, the fact that who is it? Illyria, who hears like the void talking to her
Yeah.
and saying, "Oh, you need to destroy Sylvana. She's dangerous to us." And now we're dealing with an old god, because we all knew there weren't any old gods in the
Are we
expansion.
dealing with
What?
old god?
No.
There, apparently so I've heard.
What?
That's the
No.
rumor.
Old
I
god.
want proof. I need proof before.
Yeah.
I do that.
Has there been any sort of
Oh,
evidence
there
of that?
there might have been something. I might have heard a little bit of a rumor.
My
about,
fishing skill has been going up.
So I think it's a good time to probably get into something else that was revealed at Gamescom then, with the last Warbringer, which we were all waiting for a long time now. Like, come on, we've seen Jaina, we've seen Sylvanas. Where is Azshara? How does she fit into this story? And we finally got it at BlizzCon, and
We did.
for me, I feel like it kind of hit all the places I thought it was going to hit, but I feel like how it was executed was really well done. And we finally got our first glimpses of N'Zoth, kind of in the Warcraft environment.
And his voice, wow! I was really that way that they did his voice and the voice actor and stuff. It so good.
Yeah, and his various different voices, but big old fish. That's what I say. He's a big old fish. Been sitting under there, and
I caught that fish in Pokemon.
I just want to say that previously, like, Jaina was my number one of the Warbringers, and I think that the Azshara one surpassed it for me. Even though, like, even while I'm playing World of Warcraft, I'm still humming, like, the tune to Jaina's thing. This one just, it had so much to it. And it was so well done in almost every regard that it's hard for me to put into words right now. I've been thinking about it. Like, I've watched it 2 or 3 times, and it's just so good. There's so many little
really
things.
Beautiful moments in it. There's almost like these moments that time stands still. There's the bit where she's like holding back the waves at the start. There's the bit kind of after that where she's kind of falling through the kind of ocean towards the seabed. And there's just these moments of it feels like it's almost playing out too long, but at the same time it's just you're just kind of mesmerized and captured in this moment that seems to last such a really long time.
Yeah, and I heard some of my guildies, they talked about that. One of them, she thought that it was she didn't really like it too much because she thought like there was nothing new in this. There was nothing that we didn't really know about Azshara, and I don't think that I agree with that, to be honest, because we sort of always thought that she was a pawn of the old god. I mean, technically she probably still is, but she actually stood up to an old god and set her own terms.
Like, I think in her head she's not a pawn, but ultimately she is a pawn.
Yeah, I think ultimately she is a pawn, obviously, but I mean, that tenacity to actually try and go in and make a deal with an old god like that, I didn't really see that coming, but I really think it do fit her character and from what we know from her from the books and stuff like that. So and also you have to also remember that all of this, the story about Azshara mainly is from the books. We don't know too much about her that's been told through the in-game through the game. So I think for a lot of people, maybe this is not a new character. She has been teased and obviously there's a zone named after her and things like that. But I think for a lot of people, this is the introduction to Azshara and who she is.
I think the video shows that she's more, if anything, power is more important to her than her people or her life even.
Yeah.
She's very easy to squander her life if it means that she would have to become a slave to someone she wants to have the power and to be almost like an equal to an old god.
There was a comment in the YouTube video. Yes, I went there. I went into the YouTube comments. I went in there mainly because there's like 50,000 likes on it and less than 1,000 dislikes, which is, for something this large of a scale, that's pretty impressive. And somebody in the comments actually said that they love the way that Blizzard kind of subtly put in there where even though like she seemed in charge of the deal, like she's like, no, you need me, and I'm the one making the deal. He kind of like N'Zoth just kind of let her sit there for a while and make her like think like, oh no, maybe he backed out on the deal or something, and then he gave her that power. So it's kind of like, I'm still in
Mind
charge
games.
here. Yeah, like so they're kind of battling each other, but I mean, an old god is an old god, so obviously, at least I think he's still in charge in some way, but I really want to see how this plays out. And also something to touch on is, if you've noticed the names that we've talked about today, we talked about Jaina a bit, we talked about Sylvanas, we're talking about Azshara. I don't know if Blizzard is intentionally doing this, but the female power right now is like, it's really strong. Like Blizzard is ahead of the game right now with this female lead and just having like so much power in that realm. Like more
My
power
character
to it.
is one of the largest, best adventures in the world, and she's a female. So, I mean,
How do you feel about this? So, like Michael says, like these kind of three strong characters.
No, I like it. In the beginning, I think I've said it on my podcast a few times, that I had a bit of a worry that some of the characters, especially after the Sylvanas video, that you have, at least in the beginning, two leaders in power who haven't been the most stable with how they respond to things. And I thought, please don't put women into the crazy corner again with everything. That's not, they can be strong in a different way. But now that I've seen the Azshara video, I love the contrast in all because they're leaders of their factions, really, of their people. But you see a difference because Jaina's going back to Kilturus and basically trying to ask forgiveness from her people and trying to do best by really what she thinks is best for them, without them suffering or anything for that. She's making amends. Then you have Sylvanas, who I truly think she believes what she does is the best for, maybe not the Horde, but at least for the Forsaken. So I do believe that, she's more like a military leader than the compassion what Jaina really has. And then you have Azshara, who is completely the opposite, and it's just, I'm a magnificent leader, you should all adore me, I am powerful, and I rule you, that's it. And I like that difference because Jaina and Azshara are complete polar opposites. And I think that's really good. But we have lots of other strong female characters now in game. I mean, like Princess Talanji. I think she's amazing to have her in the game now. And
that's Horde side, right?
Yeah, and you have Talia on Alliance side. So there.
Oh yeah, she's.
Oh! Don't spoil if you know.
I'm
who
not
Talia
spoiling
is.
anything,
Good.
but I like it that there's, I mean, she's carrying a massive hammer. That's amazing. So I like it that she, we have these really strong female characters now, and I like seeing where this Warbringer bit for the females just brings the whole story together. And I'm happy that Bliss didn't take it to the whole crazy train that it seemed to become at a certain point.
But it really seems like it's a theme right now as well, because even in d.va, when you level through it, you have your 5-6 companions that you level alongside with, and to begin with, the leader of those 5 is a man, but he dies, and then they choose a new leader, which is a female, and the group has multiple females. It really feels like it's a theme, this expansion around as well, sort of like an underlying theme, the female empowerment or something like that.
Yeah, you see it everywhere, even when you go to Borealis and you have obviously Jaina's mother's in charge, and you have Lady Ashvane in a high position. So it is like that. And I do want to also highlight Blizzard introducing these new characters and building up their lore and their presence. Like Syl mentioned Talia, and I just want to say, like, without spoiling any of her story that's going on for those who haven't seen it yet, but she goes through a crap ton during that story, and she comes out like strong on top of it. In any other situation, like, some people might be broken by that. So I was really nervous on how Blizzard would bring that story element around, because I'm like, man, this girl's gonna have some issues. Like, there's some crazy stuff that's going on if you really think about it, and they just kind of, I don't know if they intended it to be like viewed this deeply, but I just want to say, like, the character building right now, not just with the large scale Jaina and Sylvanas, but everywhere in between, it's hitting really well.
Speaking of crazy stuff that's happening, I just want to bring up a couple of things that I've kind of seen people flag up from kind of the Warbringers, and one of the things was that moment we see N'Zoth's eye for the first time. You know, his massive eye, and you can see the small little speck in the middle of his eye, and it's Azshara, and like it giving the scale of you know, how big N'Zoth actually is. But then there, if you look at Sylvanas' eyes in the Warbringer, where she's telling Surfang and Nephanos to burn the tree, her eye is like the same color as N'Zoth's eye, so there's potentially a connection there. And another thing that actually my girlfriend Amanda brought up to me was the use of words, and specifically the word nothing, that seems to be reoccurring when, for example, Gul'dan's interaction with Arya Rim before his death. You'll be remembered as the king that died for nothing. There's also reference to this with Sylvanas and Anduin. You have won nothing. And in this latest Warbringer, I think it's either N'Zoth says to Azshara, "You are nothing without me," or something to that degree. And this word keeps cropping up, and I'm just wondering, like, nothing. What is the nothing? And could it potentially be something to do with the void? The void is nothing, and it's just is this where we're slowly going to? Are we slowly kind of going to be uncovering this new big bad that's worse than the Legion? It's
the void is a bigger bad.
It is what I'm just trying to build it up, Murray. Just trying to build it up.
Okay.
Don't want to tell him it is. Don't want to tell him it is worse than the Legion. You know, got to build them up. But yeah, you know, we're slowly uncovering potentially more about this, and I probably think we don't see this expansion, but who knows? But we're slowly finding more out about the void. You know, we've got void elves, and you know, we're uncovering that side of things, and I think it's not going to be long before maybe we find out who N'Zoth is reporting to, and you know, that's scary because you just see the sheer size of him. And
the thing is that our old gods that we have been battling with, and that has caused all these things going wrong on Azeroth, the old gods actually also have gods. Let's just put it that way. So
they're just lords, as you may say.
They're just minions. They are minions.
They're just pawns.
It's gonna be really interesting. I just love the whole Cthulhu vibe that it brings.
Selena says that Tom is overreacting. It's nothing.
yeah, it's totally nothing. But oh man, that Warbringer, it was incredible. Just that second, it first switches to N'Zoth, and you see just him scaling over the city, and you know,
the Black Empire.
His tentacles are everywhere. But there's also a really interesting scene kind of after that where he's kind of reaching out to Azshara, but he's all kind of tangled up in the buildings. It's almost like, you know, he is still a prisoner. You know, he's still kind of confined to there. And I think it gave a good like overview of like, yes, this is the scale of this guy, but he is a prisoner and he's tied here and he needs these pawns, or you know, they don't think they're pawns, but pieces to his puzzle to achieve whatever he's trying to do. And we knew the old gods were coming, but I'm really excited to kind of have them in again. You know, when we've had things like Yogg-Saron, we've had Cthulhu. I wasn't a big fan of the Y'Shaarj stuff, but I still think that they add this great flavor to Warcraft, and especially now that the Horde and the Alliance are going hammer and tong at each other, it just sets up a really interesting narrative literally underneath everything that's going on.
I have a question that you all might know a little bit better than me. How many old gods do we still have around?
That's the last one.
Is he the last one? Like there's none left?
He's the last original one, but there is another old god in Zuldazar.
Oh
wow!
Stunned silence on the blue recluse.
Okay.
All the Alliance players are like, what?
And it's not the same.
No, it's a different god. It's not much of a spoiler because you basically get thrown into it immediately as a Horde player. But
are you sure it's not N'Zoth's toenail or something? popping up
Well,
through the
he's
servers.
not as. Let's just face it. This old god is not as powerful as the 4 original ones. He's more like fabricated, if that's a word that's.
And can we
more
still call him an
applicable to
old
him.
god if he's, is he not like a new god?
That's how Blizzard describes him, as another old god. So,
Okay, interesting. I really think I should jump on board my Horde character soon and start playing through that side of the expansion.
If anything, I would say to any Alliance player, if only roll a Horde character so you can do an Asmir, because that story is really interesting just to get to know the Loa.
It's
and
a trap. It's a trap. I'm not falling for it. So I'm not. Just like, yeah, come on, just roll. Just come and do one zone, and then you.
The
can
first zone is free.
No, I'm not falling for it. They've obviously, the Horde have been questing with old gods. We're finding out they're all corrupted. They're all corrupted. Don't go there,
True, it's
Alliance
true.
people. It's a trap. Just stay.
Syl is a messenger. She's under the influence. She's been hearing whispers. She has a podcast called Whispers of War.
Exactly.
So
It's all propaganda. It's all old god propaganda. So we found you out. We've blown your cover right open right on the show.
I'll just say one thing, Gahoon, and that's it.
next
okay.
week's show title is going to be "Has the Blue Recluse been tainted?" Are they under the
No,
influence
Michael,
now?
that question was asked many years ago and it's been answered.
But
Right. Well, speaking of old gods, one thing that I thought was really interesting. I don't know if any of you have done the dungeon called Shrine of Storms.
No.
Of the Storms.
So don't talk
oh,
about
hold
it.
on, is that the one from Stormsong Valley?
Yeah. it
Yeah,
is.
I did.
One thing that I thought was really interesting is that between the second last boss and the last boss, you have to swim under through to a cave. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, but if you look down while you're swimming, you can see way down in the depths some tentacles moving back and forth.
Ooh, okay, I gotta look out for that one.
I did not know that.
No, just next time you do that dungeon and you swim that bit, look down and see what's happening down
Which
there.
is weird because there is no old gods in this expansion.
there
so
is no old
what-
god.
Yeah,
It's just the
a
Kraken.
really
Don't
big
worry.
squid.
It's just the
the Kraken.
Kraken.
Yeah.
it's or bees. Apparently, like there was somebody that put a picture on Twitter and they were like, "This is an old god," but all I could see was a bee. So I don't know.
Yeah,
It-
I
it's
just
really
saw
weird.
B as well.
Really weird.
Selena
Really
and
weird.
Amanda have been on a whole bee thing. I don't know what's going on with them, but
Oh, the bee meme.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? You're gonna find out, Michael, and you're gonna be shocked that there was no old gods. It was the bees.
the bees
Nicolas
all
Cage.
along.
Nicolas Cage was right.
It was the B team who did it.
The-
bee team? Oh boy.
One thing that I thought interesting as well was, I don't know, Sil, if you have played through any of the Alliance stuff, but in Drostovar,
She's
Trust
played
Val?
Trustfar.
that whole storyline I found was really interesting because we know that the Colterans can be druids, and when you play through that storyline, you have this dream that the druids go into, and it's tainted, and they have their own baddie in there that we need to fight.
Ooh,
And I
tainted
just
dream.
and I was just like, this really mirrors something that we know, doesn't it?
That is very much Emerald Dream stuff.
Yeah.
Pains of yeah, I know. It
I was-
yeah.
I was just confused. Is it its own part? Is there different alternative dreams, or what? Or is it the same dream? I was just really curious because
They've set themselves up for a bit of a difficult thing there, in all honesty, because when you're like in Legion, when you play the druids, the Emerald Dreamway, you don't see any Colteran druids there, so it's almost like they have their own little compartment. Like you can't sit with us, and it's tricky. I don't know how they're going to implement that so it actually works out. But I mean, if they have their own part of the Emerald Dream, who says that that can't still be corrupted? I mean, there is, when you finish the Emerald Dream raid, you see Azshara walking towards like this cave kind of, or I think it's a cave or something underneath a tree, and there is a shard of like void or dark energy there.
Yeah.
Maybe that still extends to, the Colterans part of the druid's dream. So there are options for it.
yeah,
So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there.
Yeah, I'm really interested. And I hope it's something that we'll touch more upon because I was just really curious about. Hey, that it sounds so familiar. It sounds like something I've heard somewhere else. Oh wait, I've heard it from this game. Uh, but yeah, I'm really curious, and I want to see more of that. I really love that zone as well. It's an amazing zone. I can really recommend it. I thought it was amazing quest line to quest through, and you actually go back during the Jaina quest line as well. So it really good. Can really recommend it.
And I just
Yeah,
want to
I
say,
really
oh, go
enjoyed
ahead.
it.
I just want to say that
Sorry,
like
yeah.
I can't really fault Blizzard for making mistakes story wise sometimes, because even talking about all this, I mean, you can fault them because they created it, but there's so many different threads going on that like they implanted at some point and maybe they couldn't get to it because of constraints at the time, and now we're like trying to connect those old points to see how it's all going, and we still have whatever whispers were going on in Legion when we were going through, like, what is it, 3 lies he will tell you. We're still waiting for that to play out, like who's telling the lies.
The Boy King.
Oh yeah, it's the Boy King, so we don't know.
Mm.
Is where's Anduin at, huh? He ain't over there. He went back to Stormwind doing who knows what.
Weren't we supposed to be getting Raffion back as well?
Maybe. Nobody knows what he's been up to. I mean, that was a really interesting character as well that they really haven't used for anything besides, I think he was in a quest text or a random item you picked up. There was some text about him in Legion, and I think that's it. That's what they used him for, or something like that. and yeah,
He's just going to be another character that's going to come back and save Anduin from some sort of dire
Time
situation.
travel.
And I mean, he's got excuse for flying him because he's a dragon, but no, I would love to see Raffion back because I feel like you say, he was an interesting character, had some interesting interactions with Anduin as well. I think we saw quite a lot of that in the War Crimes book, and maybe this is the expansion where we get some of those big players back as well. But I think it is interesting that when we mentioned earlier, like how the previous expansions have all like set things up and how that continuity happens now, and I really enjoy just kind of looking back and going, wow, this moment in Mists of Pandaria has led to this moment now, and it's it's pretty cool.
I can say for one thing with this game or this expansion, as much as I love Legion, I feel, at least for the Horde side, because I haven't played as much in Alliance just yet, I feel much more invested and immersed into the story than I did in Legion. And maybe because I don't feel like the hero, like, I am the leader of the class or whatever it is. I feel much more like I'm actually just one of the other soldiers. But what is happening? I had times that I went like, oh, I really hope that this thing or this person doesn't die in this quest because I don't want it to happen, and I haven't had that in a very long time. So I think they're doing something right.
Yeah, I think that just our main characters taking a step back and not being the the be all and end all champion. I think, yeah, it was maybe good. It felt like it was kind of done for 2 expansions with the Garrison and then into Legion as well. And I was a bit tired of it. It's like, I don't want to be the main person. I want to find out more about the other characters in the world. That's what I'm here for.
I don't want the responsibility
I know,
anymore.
I know what I am. I know what I can do, but you don't have to keep calling me champion. But yeah, it's
because I will bubble Hearthstone out of it.
But I totally agree. I feel a bit more immersed as well. And we kind of maybe knew where Legion was heading as well, and that Illidan was being set up for his redemption, and that threat was going to be stopped, obviously. But now we're in this kind of uncharted waters where we're not too sure where we're heading. We're not too sure what the big bad is. Yes, we know there's maybe some old gods or something like that, but we don't really know where we're going. But we know that there's something bad going on and something bad underneath, and I think that's really exciting.
And I do think it's
sorry, go on.
I just want to say that I think it's important for us to remember that in game, our characters, right, they don't know much about like what's going on behind the scenes. Like we know because we look at like videos and lore and things like that, but our characters in game, like, of course, they know of the old gods, but they don't know, like, to the extent, like, I don't think they know how many there are, where they are, what their names are, things like that. So that's interesting to keep in mind.
Yeah. Speaking of uncertainties.
Yeah, I think you're right.
What is it?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Just roll it. Roll
Tom.
it.
Yeah, Tom. We got a question.
We did. We now have a new channel on our Discord. It's called Ask Us a Question. Really creative name. And we had a question this week from Frasley, and he has a question to ask us. What are your thoughts of the gnome cliffhanger quest in Tiragard Sound? This is a quest called Inspector Gadget, so already an awesome quest name. So I don't know if you guys actually checked this out, but it's actually quite interesting because the quest text reads, some time ago, a good friend of mine who had a tinker shop in Borealis. I keep saying Borealis wrong for some reason. I'm having issues, but just stopped all correspondence with the state of foreign affairs. I wasn't able to look for him myself until recently. It's not just him. It seems that all the gnomes that were living in the city just up and vanished. I've decided to start my search within these ruins, but the machines here have gone haywire. Could you get a good magnetic reading on the place? So there's something going on with the gnomes. The gnomes were in Borealis. Then suddenly one day they all disappeared, and we do this little investigation to find out more about potentially where they have gone, but we don't know. We don't know where the gnomes have gone. So immediately I'm thinking, it's not the old gods, it's the gnomes. It's the gnomes, they were there all along. We couldn't see them because they were short. We've overlooked the gnomes, literally overlooked them. They're doing God knows what, why we stare above their shoulders. It's the gnomes. It's got to be the gnomes, and they're in cahoots with the old gods, and that's what's going to bring down Azeroth.
The gnomes are the ones giving Nathath, giving the old gods, I'll just say that, giving them the orders. They're so fed up with people disregarding them and not putting them in
the fact they're not in the
cinematics.
cinematics, yeah,
They are the next raid boss. It's Blizzard's big twist on the whole MMO thing. All gnome players will be the raid boss.
It's just a raid full of level 1 gnomes.
Yeah, that's what it's going to be. You know the way they have the race of the gnomes every year? So the new raid is going to be, there's going to be the race for the gnomes, except we have to run away from them before they catch us. That's going to be the raid. You're like, oh no, they're coming.
You just hear the little pitter patter of their feet coming behind you as you're trying to run. Don't look back. Never look back.
I mean, we obviously, we're Alliance and we have gnomes on our side, and we try to be as nice as possible to them, but sometimes it gets difficult. But and I forgot what I was going to say, so that just tells you where we're at. But I think if we dial it back from a serious perspective, that about the fact that gnomes often do get overlooked with certain things with the cinematic, and they seem to be getting there. Mechatork is building up kind of his power and his influence, but it's nice to see that there's some love for another race as well. And we talked about earlier with the question from the Q&A about how this story is going to affect everyone, and everyone has a part to play in this. It's for Azeroth after all, and all these races make up Azeroth. So it is good to see that maybe the gnomes of Borealis have potentially uncovered something, and that might come to light at a later stage.
Okay.
Maybe the gnomes save us. Maybe it's like Lord of the Rings, Maybe it's
We're
like
digging too deep.
Am I the only one who wants the gnome from Before the Storm to come back, and she's still alive and well? And it was like her and Grizzic help find it. Her and Grizzic.
I want that as well.
Yeah.
So thanks for the question, Frasley. I think it's good for you to bring up latest gnome issues that we often totally forget about, and it's definitely important to remember the little guys.
Yeah, and I think that's where we have to end the show. We can go on from there. That's the highlight. So let's get out of here.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
I pressed the wrong sounder.
We didn't have a bell this week. Oh man, I feel totally out of place. No bell. Ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling. Last orders.
Last orders. Last orders. Last orders.
I don't know why you played the sounder because I just did it. But there we
Flawless
go.
every time. Flawless.
Never mind.
This is the show with the least mistakes in it.
Actually, it is. Yeah, it's not bad. Not bad, guys. Not bad. Only double digits, but we're getting there. We're getting
Someday we'll get one right.
there.
So thank you so much for joining us this week. I hope you had as much fun as we did.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Anytime. So people who wants to listen more to you, where can they find you?
I'm on my own podcast called Whispers of War, which you can probably Google and find in iTunes, or you can go to whispersofwar.podbean.com if you want to download it there. And if you want to have a chat with me on Twitter, you can do that either on my own account, which is McMonkeys with a Z, because that's what all the cool kids have, and Whispers of War, which is whispers_of_war.
And if you
Very
forget
good.
the name of Sill's podcast, Whispers of War, it's this episode name. This episode is called the same name as Sill's podcast. And she said that was okay.
It was, absolutely.
And obviously we'll put a link in the show notes as well. Something else that we have been doing, the three of us together with good friends over from the Blizzard umbrella, is a new podcast called Nerd This. And the next episode that will be out right after this episode, I guess, will be about Gamescom and our reactions to some of the announcements and what we thought was cool and what we hated and all those things. Hate is a strong word. What we disliked, what we didn't feel was great.
I loved
don't
it
know.
all. I loved it all. So it's just a shame we do have grumpy people that like to complain about stuff. But that's
Yeah,
podcasting.
Yeah, right.
Dang.
Anyway, stay around because after the show we have the newest Freshly report. So anything we talked about, let us know your thoughts about anything we talked about on this episode. If you have your own questions like Freshly, feel free to contact us. Tom, how do people do that?
You can email the show at thebluereclusepodcast@gmail.com. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at the Blue Recluse. We're also on Discord at thebluerecluse.eu/Discord. There you can chat about Blizzard games with us and also leave us a question like Frasley did, because that's pretty cool. And we're on iTunes if you want to leave us a review there. We love that. And you can find all that information and more on our website, which is the Blue Recluse.
Are you sure?
I'm not sure. The bluerecluse.eu or the bluerecluse.com, which we got two websites because two is better than one, apparently. So you can find all information. I'll put Sill's stuff on there as well, so you don't even have to remember anything we just said. You can just go over to that website and find it all there.
But would you remember to go to that website?
No. I don't know what you're asking. Stop asking me questions.
All right, I think there's nothing else to say, but thank you for listening. It's time to mute the mics and listen to Frasley. So, Frasley, take it away.
Welcome to the Frasley Report, a short news report by me, Frasley, the Awesome Gnome, to deliver your World of Warcraft news. There are mysteries that remain unresolved in Azeroth. We've answered questions like, where is Mr. Smite? We've uncovered things like Gnome as being some of the top players in Overwatch. We found out what the real reason for the factional divide was. There are yet, however, many mysteries still unresolved. Join me, because you probably, maybe, perhaps, definitely can help solve a mystery, question, theory, or idea. I need a trench coat to match my currently gravelly voice. I don't know why I'm talking like this. That's another mystery. I sound like a host of a 90s TV show about mysteries. We have questions that come to us like, would Garrosh have been evil if he was able to get the proper posture orcs can now get thanks to the Banshee chiropractor benefits? Why did Hogger try to stop their capture a few weeks back before it was hotfixed? All of the treasure chests in BFA, where did they come from? They've been diverting countless adventurers from the story and side quest. I know I've gotten diverted quite a few times. But there are a few mysteries I will discuss today, as I have some new leads on a few of them. Recently, Flightmasters have been forming a union, and they've been wanting to make more money with the rising cost of living. They started to demand better pay from Blizzard. Since Toxic on the WoW subreddit came across Blizzard's answer to this, there is now a scroll of flight that will be popping up all across Azeroth. Sadly, many flight masters are now out of work. A while back, a picture of a Diablo nightlight popped up along with the rumors of a Nintendo Switch port. We now have confirmation that Diablo 3 is launching on the Switch. We know World of Warcraft is coming to a toaster, though the project has experienced some unfortunate setbacks in their crunch time. But this no one wants to know. Where is World of Warcraft on Switch? Many gnomes have been wondering when we would be getting more of a story. There's that secret boss at the end of Gnomeregan added in Legion, and Mechatork has been in a few in-game cutscenes recently. Well, I am happy to announce that there is something regarding gnomes brewing in Tiergard Sound. There is a quest, no, not the gnome selfie quest, but another that has just gnome very excited for future patches. Sunny days are here at last for gnome lore. And we still don't know where Tales and model updates are for Worgen, but the BlizzCon 2017 Q&A said it should be soon. We were all waiting for the Warbringer's Azshara short. Well, good news is it is releasing, or it was released, depending on when you hear this broadcast, on Friday, August 24th at Gamescom. There are many more mysteries that remain yet unresolved. We will continue to keep you updated on these and more as we go into the future. I can solve 2 more mysteries for you, though. When will I stop talking like this? And when will this report end? I can answer that right now, as this broadcast is now over. Thank you for tuning in today. This has been the Fraz Report. Until next time, be awesome.
This show is brought to you by Dragon Powered Studio. Find more at dragonpoweredstudio.com.